Despite the approaching German troops in the autumn of 1941 and the threat of Moscow's capture, Stalin did not leave the capital. However, the possibility of defeat near Moscow was considered in the Kremlin, and a detailed action plan was developed for such a case, as well as the necessary measures were taken. Official propaganda often quoted Kutuzov's words, "With the loss of Moscow, Russia is not lost," which strengthened the confidence of the people that, if anything, the action plan was already ready. In the event of the loss of Moscow, the reserve capital was to become the city of Kuybyshev, now Samara. Already in October 1941, the government and the diplomatic corps were evacuated to this city, and Kuybyshev became half of the new center of power. Announcer Yuri Levitan, who usually began his messages with the phrase, "Moscow speaks," began broadcasting from Kuybyshev. On October 15, 1941, a top-secret document was issued. Resolution number 801 CCE of the State Defense Committee on the evacuation of the capital of the USSR, Moscow, to the city of Kuybyshev. This document became part of the preparation for a possible evacuation scenario, preparing the country for difficult times when the threat of Moscow's fall was real. The meeting room of the government bunker in Kuybyshev, now a museum, became the place where the most important decisions were made during the war. Despite the triple secrecy, the evacuation of state institutions and party organizations was inevitable. The middle and lower level authorities left Moscow, taking out personal and official property, and factories were being prepared for mining. Even the subway, which was not working at the time, was prepared for demolition and flooding. These events created real chaos in Moscow from October 16th to October 19th. The wave of general demoralization put pressure on Stalin, and he reconsidered the decision to evacuate. He realized that his departure from Moscow would completely destroy governance and resistance, and the capital would certainly fall. Therefore, Stalin made the risky decision to stay in the Kremlin, along with several members of the Politburo and a small group of staff of the General Staff. Zhukov and Stalin's entourage recall an episode when the government had already evacuated, and everyone expected Stalin to follow them. However, when asked if it was possible to send a guard regiment to Kuybyshev, Stalin replied, "No need. If necessary, I will lead this regiment into the attack myself." The popular story about how Stalin pondered on the platform in the Rogoshko-Simonovsky dead end about his way to Kuybyshev did not actually take place. The special train was prepared, as was the fighter plane at the airfield, but Stalin never appeared either on the platform or at the airfield, remaining in Moscow and making the fateful decision to stay put at a critical moment. What should I do if the Germans capture the capital? In this case, the headquarters of the Supreme High Command planned to create a new strategic line of defense. It was supposed to pass along the line Vydigra, Sharapovets, Rybinsk, Yaroslavl, Gorky, Penza, Saratov, Stalingrad, Astrakhan. It was planned to deploy 10 new reserve armies on this fortified line. In addition, this line would serve as a defensive line for retreating troops in the event of defeat near Moscow or in Ukraine. The southern part of this strategic line, which ran along the Volga, was especially important as it coincided with the line that the German troops were supposed to reach according to the Barbarossa Plan. However, Hitler and his strategists planned to oust the Soviet troops across the Volga, hoping that by that time the remaining Soviet forces would lose their combat capability and control. Stalin, on the other hand, considered this option of retreat only as a forced step in which resistance would continue, despite the difficult situation. This testified to the determination of the Soviet leadership to continue the struggle, despite the threat of losing the capital.